How come we don't see anything? There we go. And hello to those tuning in on the video now. Hit your start button, and things will happen. You'll be seeing me, but not for long. I'll switch over to the Orban loudness meter. You can check your loudness as we check in tonight on the SWL roll call. And this is week number 8, actually. So this is our final week of this roster. We start with our 00, who's been doing a good job. Phil has been doing a good job, as he always does, getting us started off. So let's see if he is around the radio tonight. SWL 00.
Good evening, Dennis and the net. 00 checking in.
Checking in and sounding good. I need a much wider table here to accommodate all the goodies that's required to do this. People have seen enough of me. Let me switch over. If you're watching the video, we'll switch to the Orban loudness. Let's see if it's shot. It looks like it is. So what's the goal? I think the goal, the way I've got it set tonight, is to be somewhere between minus 20 and minus 16. I think that's what Robert Orban says for good stuff. So we'll see what we can do. Thanks, Phil, for checking in. We've got SWL number 1 already checked in, and also SWL number 2, who over on the video side let us know that we have yet another week with 0 sunspots. I'm surprised that the current cycle the minimum cycle is taking such a long time, but it will jump up quite rapidly shortly, no doubt. SWL 3, checking in Rob. I saw him at the bowling alley last Thursday, and he said to check him in, as he doesn't have some working on it, but doesn't have any antennas for this band yet. SWL 4. SWL 5, I saw Ida the other day as well. She says hello to all the old tube radio operators and SWLs. Over to SWL 6. SWL 7.
Ooh, SWL 7, checking in.
Checking in, and checked in. Sounded good, Ed. Thanks. Have an email check-in for SWL 11 and 12. Takes us over to SWL 13. Mike, who often checks in at oldtuberadio.net, which is a good way to do it if you can't make it on the air. And I'll keep an eye out for anybody checking in on the page there. SWL 14. SWL 15. SWL 15 from the big town of Easton, where I don't think you have had any snow yet this year.
Oh, we have lots of snow.
Yeah, Lincoln Avenue probably looked like a canal there for a while. It sounded good, Fred. Sounded good here on AM. Don't hear much on the FM. I guess I'm on the wrong frequency. Thanks for checking in. SWL 17. SWL 18. And I'm going to give Mr. KDA a check-in from a Facebook post earlier this week. That will take us over to SWL 20.
There must be something wrong with my radio. Number 20, here, please check in number 29 also.
All right, we'll get 20 and 29. Sounding good. Sounds like you have maybe a tablespoon more audio than you might want, but it is loud, and we will talk about that radio. I believe it's the one from last week, because I recognize the ping, and we'll get 29 checked in. Let's see, who's over on the video side now that I have it up and running? DD21. Yeah, I like you gave the explanation of the red knobbed tram. I looked at that, and it reminded me of some of those, fancy basketball shoes or something. So that was a Red Monkey. Maybe that's it. There was a Red Monkey special with the red knobs. Sounded good tonight. OBP letting us know about the lack of sunspot numbers and checking in as well. Number 2, I do have you on the list. Takes us over to SWL 21, of course. Mr. JT listening in. Not sure. He's in the over on that other part of town where it's very late. So thanks for getting at least started on the net tonight, JT. And if you have to drop out early, we understand. Over to SWL 23. SWL 24. And I do believe I hear a crossband check in Hello Radio, KB6GFD.
It's 4290 at 137.
All right, got it in my other ear. Thanks, KB6GFD.
Dennis, I wasn't able to make it home yet.
All right, had a crossband check-in, which we just got. Let me call 24 again, see if Joseph is out there. SWL 24. SWL 25. Over to page 2, SWL 27. SWL 29 with a proxy check-in. Over to SWL 31. Let me make sure I get X's where they're supposed to go here. And if I was any kind of a net controller, I'd be looking at my big board here to see if we have, if Hendersonville, Tennessee has survived the Arctic blast, which I think they have not seen. They'll probably be on a little bit later. Sometimes they show up as other items. I don't see anybody from Tennessee tonight, so must be out painting the town. Robert and Teresa will be looking for you. SWL 32. SWL 33, myself, Bozo Control, the Jingle Singers, Mr. Announcer. I believe everybody's here. We did the rehearsal early, and everything seemed to work. That's how I said seemed to work. SWL 34. One of our check-ins from super cold country. We'll have a few of them coming in tonight. Speaking of Red Monkey, the guy who is red monkeying around out there in Cheyenne, Wyoming these days. With a thumbs up. I'll give you another thumbs up there, Bill. There we go. And thanks for checking in. Stay warm. And no slipping and sliding. Unless absolutely necessary. Over to SWL 36. Hello, Roy. Hope you do not have any leaks. And everything is dry in the radio room. Thanks for checking in. Yeah, me too. I fixed the roof this summer, so don't have to worry about it. SWL 37.
SWL 37.
37. And take care of the knee. Is it one of those things you just can't do anything about it? It just does what it does?
Yeah, well, I wrenched it out way back in the 70s and in the 80s and so forth and so forth. And I have a brace. I need to put it on, but I'm not going to put it on right now. I'm too lazy.
Yeah, like me and my back from lifting things the wrong way back in the day before they made you wear all those OSHA-approved belts and taught you how to lift. Thanks, Chris. You are sounding good. We've got you checked in. SWL 39.
Number 39 checking in.
And still sounding good after 7 days. Dr. Dan of the Microphonium beaconing to the Old Tube Radio Network here in Central California and around the world at oldtuberadio.net. We got you checked in, Dan.
Okay, thank you.
And Dan does have a collection of tube radios. Probably a good thing these cold February evenings, if you have tube radios, to plug them in, turn them on, and get warm and give us a check-in at the same time, all for free. Over to SWL 40.
SWL 40 checking in from Chinatown.
The Chinatown, I guess the version of Chinatown that actually still is Chinatown, but they might be encroaching on you, and also our air traffic controller tonight. Thanks for checking in. SWL 41. From moments ago, from the FM crossband, SWL 42. Thanks, Jerry, and thanks, Ed, for picking that one up. Over to SWL 43. SWL 44. Well, I tried, Ray. The pictures worked for me, but they were in the wrong format. And I wonder how motorized antennas work when it's really, really cold. Have to be careful on that. Anyway, you are looking good. Thanks for listening in. I want to also say hello to who's on the live stream tonight. Lots of people. We've got Fish Camp up in Castro Valley, California stations. Man, right in the front row. You must have had the backstage pass there. Out there in Dallas, Georgia. Somerville, South Carolina, right up with you. A couple of Hagerstown stations. Hello to Fayetteville, coming up to you. Woodland Park, Colorado. Haven't had any good E-skip, so you probably have to stick with the net tonight. Hello, Chicago, Illinois. Maybe we'll get one of those Spiegel radios checking in tonight for a 60609. I see you're an 07, maybe an 09. Redondo Beach, by way of Manhattan, if you're listening in tonight, I got your message. Probably give you a call tomorrow. Hello, Washington. Oakland. Oakland has got to be somebody that used to be right here in the thick of things at the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks for still tuning us in. Centerville, Virginia, coming up to you. Hello to Florence, Kentucky. You've got Connecticut, Utah, we just checked in. Hello, Sacramento. Point the stacked 8-element quads down 99 here. See if you can pick us up. Spokane, that might be the Tim Chon, you never know. Hello, Michigan and Pennsylvania. Hopefully we will be talking with some of your favorite radios tonight. By the way, if you have transmitted on an old tube radio this week, and you can leave us a note on the big page. Leave us a note what radio you had, and I'll add it to the back of the list here. See what kind of radios got fired up across the states this week. All right, Paul, I made you wait long enough. SWL 45.
45 on a noisy night.
Yeah, I got some reports of noise and buzzing and from some of the other stations checking out their noise blankers. So for those of us who have the mediocre noise blankers, we will try and see what we can do. But you are sounding fine, no problem. Over.
Yeah, you are too, Dan. Sounding real good.
Reminder, we are on the directed net roll called the Old Tube Radio Network. In about 20 minutes or so, we'll be talking with the tube radios, classic tube radios, so stay tuned for that. Right now, we are looking for SWL 46. SWL 47. SWL 48, Sam, who is waving a hand, checking in at oldtuberadio.net. I see you, Sam. I haven't. That's on the other computer. Sometimes it's hard for me to type on that keyboard and acknowledge everybody, but I will get to that. And speaking of acknowledgments, SWL 49 checking in after the big thaw. I think he's still thawing out. That's Brian, one of our local stations with many a great tube radio with some good audio as well, and letting him know that the polar vortex took him down to minus 25. He's in, I believe it's Wisconsin. Yeah, and 50 below with the wind chill. That is just unimaginable. We did some video in a cold storage locker once, and I think it was minus 5. I'm thinking, this is craziness. We only had to be in there for like 10 minutes before all the equipment froze up. So anyway, sounds like you made it there, Brian. And thanks for checking in with us here at the Old Tube Radio Network. We will look for the skip conditions, or maybe when you're here on or a visit. Thanks for waving a hand. That'll take us over to SWL 50.
50.
and loud indeed. I have my headphoniums adjusted for such things tonight, so I will not suffer damage. Thank you, Mark. SWL 51.
51 checking in.
5-1. Dave, out near Sangertown there, 305. Sounding good. Thanks for checking into the old Tube Radio Network. SWL 52. Bottom of page 2, SWL 53.
Hello, Dennis. 53 checking in.
Sounding good on 27085. I will put the X in the square. We'll turn the page. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you.
We go to SWL 54 next. SWL 55. SWL 56.
56, just for kicks.
All right, getting the last 2-for-1 coupon here, and it looks like you will be in the running to try it again. Don't you wish that the lottery odds were, it's probably usually about 1 in 20. Don't you wish all raffle drawings were like that? Sounding good, and thanks for checking in. SWL 57. Heading out to the big town of Biola, SWL 58. SWL 59. And the station that has been on more radios than Art Bell this afternoon, SWL 60.
Sorry about that, Dennis. SWL 50 checking in. This 29 Classic. We got to fool around with the radio today, and the old Cobra stayed on. So we're going to check her in.
All right, it is checked in and still working. All the other radios that I heard sounded great, I think. So pick and choose. A, B, C, D, whatever suits your fancy. Thanks for checking in.
You're welcome, Dennis. Thank you.
SWL 61.
61 checking in, Dennis.
A 6 and a 1, waving the hand. Hello, Dean. We got you checked in here on the old Tube Radio Network. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
SWL 62.
Give me your time, Dennis. This is 62 checking in. Downtown close. On frequency and on time. And you might remind the guys that there's going to be a sale downtown Pulaski Street close tomorrow. Might come out. You never know.
All right, downtown Clovis and Pulaski, and Rex is right. You never know what might be on the table with the yellow tablecloth. Somebody might be clearing out the garage, and it's like, yeah, it's got a power cord on it. I don't know what that knob is with all those numbers. Maybe you do. Here's $10. So think about it. Sounding good, Rex. Good to hear you on the old Tube Radio Network tonight, and thanks for checking in. SWL 63. I'm going to go back to a lot of people checking in tonight over on oldtuberadio.net. Thanks for listening in. We do this every Saturday for about the last 34 years, believe it or not. Old Tube Radio. Hope you're all doing something like that. A get on the air night. Old radio night, a new radio night, something fun. Hello to our new stations from Missouri, South Carolina, Michigan, Independence, Kansas. That might be Toby. Hello to Toby, if that's you. Hello to Florida. We have been missing our Florida stations. And I'm looking and I don't see anybody from New York. They're probably all exhausted from last week's AM rally, tuning in on the SDR radios. And man, the East Coast. What some great signals. I was disappointed. I was disappointed in the AM coming out of the West Coast, but the East Coast stations were really, really sounding good last weekend. Let's go over to SWL 64. SWL 65.
65 checking in.
SWL 6 and 5. Hello, Eric. We've got you checked in for the old Tube Radio Network tonight.
Have a good one.
And SWL 31 incognito. Yeah, we had a couple like that, and they said they're there, but it doesn't show up. So that's okay. Thanks for stomping your foot, jumping up and down. I see you over there, Robert and Teresa. We've got you on the big board, and let me get the analog page as well, as all the stations start falling out. And it is Toby. How you? Looking good. And liking what you've done for the Facebook page there too. Good stuff. Oh boy, I lost my spot. No, it was 65. Eric was there. Let's go to SWL 66. SWL 67. SWL 68. SWL 69. All right, I hear you there, Ken. You're not as loud as I normally hear you, but we're getting you checked in over. All right, hope my antenna's still in the proper elevated mode. SWL 70.
I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm actually here. 70 checking in, and hello, Bill in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
And I was looking at the clock, the big Micronta LED 2-inch, 4-inch segment of the clock that is not anywhere near 6 o'clock UTC. So, as 62 would say, on frequency and on time. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, man.
And let's wave a hand to SWL 71. That is Stan. And my mouse is not working. I can't find you, Stan. You're stuck below all the... Oh, there you go. Okay, now we go. I just want to actually... Stan is always to the point. SWL 71 checking in. But he will save his comments. Mr. Announcer there will save the comments for later when we start getting into the radio stuff. Thanks, Stan, for checking in. 71 is in. Over to SWL 72. SWL 73. We've got radios coming up in about, the old radios coming up in about 10 minutes here. On the Old Tube Radio Network, 27085 in Central California, everywhere else at oldtuberadio.net. Looking for SWL 74. And if you're watching the video, what you're looking at is Robert Orban's loudness meter. And in theory, I've got it set up if you're somewhere between on the LKFS little display there, it's got the minus numbers, minus 20 to minus 16, would put you in a good range for appropriate loudness. You can be less, you can be more, but that's the range that we've set up tonight. Hello, SWL 75. And getting the big picture on everything tonight, SWL 77.
Good evening, Dennis, and SWL 77 out of the Tower District. And the old Tower of Power has got a new transmitter, an IC 7300. And we're really enjoying it.
Sounding good, looking good. I put the transmitter here tonight at 27085.10. So I'm thinking I might be 10 to 20 cycles close enough to where I'm supposed to be on the center line, but that's the best I could do with my resolution on this. It sounds good. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you.
SWL 70, we did 77. How about 78? SWL 79. SWL 80. Let's turn the page. SWL 81. Page 4, that is. SWL 82. SWL 84. SWL 85. got reports from Reedley tonight, lots of noise. You might have tried, and Robert, if you tried on the FM, I didn't even hear you there, but part of that is my antenna, so maybe some of the other good stations. Stations that are set up properly can hear you if you're trying. We will get you checked in. SWL 86, SWL 87, SWL 88, SWL 89, SWL 90 with a check-in on the crossband takes us to SWL 92. And thank you. Sounding good. Got the good signal beaconing in tonight. So our signals from north to south are working quite well. But in the north, the central to south, maybe not so much. Thanks, Chuck, for checking in out there near Madera Town. Over to SWL 93. SWL 98.
Checking in, Dennis.
Fresno Dave. I remember the time we would wait for you to drive over the hill. Don't have to do that anymore.
Thank God.
All right, sounding good. Thanks for checking in. Let me acknowledge some of our stations over on the video side. KGK 5417 in Concord. Hello, Concord. Joy of Lego and the mighty Juliet Whiskey listening in Iowa tonight. TB40 Ford, KBG 6. I've got the wrong glasses on. It says 665. I know that's wrong. There should be another number in there. In the Bluegrass State, listening in, the mighty KUH. Hello, Brian, to you. Thanks for listening into the old Tube Radio Network tonight. Tube radios are coming up. We've got 98, and let's head over to Jeff, SWL 103. He often checks in mobile. I think he's only got a mobile radio, so it might be a little cold to be out on the mobile tonight. We'll listen for Jeff. You can check in SWL-wise anytime the net is going on until we sign off tonight. Don't have to wait for the roll call if you can't make it in the assigned order. Not a problem. Over to SWL 109. Shortwave listener 110. SWL 111 from Reedley. Saw your post there. Sorry, we can't make the trip tonight on AM, but you are checked in. Over.
Break.
And the break, go ahead, over.
It's me checking in.
All right, let me rewind. I can find you easy enough. SWL 64, over.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, 64. On page 3, if you're playing the home game. Thanks, Jack. Let's go back to page 4, where we are looking for... We just checked in 111. How about SWL 113? SWL 114.
114, checking in.
114. Hello, Wayne. Looking good with an 8 in a row. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you.
SWL 128. I will put the X in the square because I do believe... I don't know what's happening with the mouse on this computer here. I did see 128 waving a hand. Let me scroll through. A lot of people checking in tonight. That's good. It's something to do on the cold evenings here. There he is. 128 checking in. Thanks, John. I was scrolling past you there. I knew you were there, so. We're looking good. Also, you know who else is waving a hand out there in Ohio? Hello, Steve. And Bob and Steve. They do their own show out of Ohio, and they do the simulcast, the old Tube Radio Network simulcast. They also have exclusive rights to the Jingle Singers. Not many people do that, but in our 34 years, Jingle Singers have taken a liking to only but a few. They've requested we send full color pics of me and Bob on the glass wall in the green room. You know what we need really is a standee. You know, they used to use them at the theaters. I've got an Orville Redenbacher standee. I've got a lot of Bozo standees. So maybe we can get, and radio stations used to have them too. So maybe we get the the Bob and Steve standee to greet us when we go in. We don't have to use the duct tape for that. All right, in the balcony. I will continue on in the air chair. Thanks, guys. Boy, I'm really hoping we get some skip. I would like to chat with you all out there. Let's go to SWL 131. SWL 133. SWL 137 checked in earlier, or checked in, I should say, via the crossband. Then we've got Tony up there somewhere near in Korskold. Pleasure to have Tony back on the air and radioactive again. Hello, Tony, if you're out there.
Yeah, Dennis, 145 checking in.
All right, looking and sounding good on our big board tonight. 145's got the check in, and you are worldwide at oldtuberadio.net. Thanks.
Is that the Tony you were looking for? Roger.
10-4, over. We've got you checked in, 145. Over to SWL 147. Neil, listening in. 0 sunspots, at least through the week. The ARRL report is a few days behind, but you can go to QRZ.com, and I think or various other sites, it'll pop up exactly what's happening. I'm pretty sure we were 0 most of the day. And he's saying his radios have been silent all week. Well, at least on this band. I heard occasional stuff comes through. You always find something on 40, 75, and 20. Like here, 15. 15 is a great band, but you got to have some sunspots to make that one work. 30 degrees at his location, getting cold again. Dr. Jazz waving a hand to all of the radio operators at the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks, Neil, for checking in. Let's go up to where it's also cold, but a little closer to town here. SWL 195.
195, checking in, Dennis.
195 checking. And did the prior storm give you guys any snow up there?
Yeah, we got about 8 inches.
Oh, man. Okay, I was thinking you would say, yeah, I think we had 8 inches is a lot. We at the broadcast FM station where I work, there was enough snow at Meadow Lakes, that's at 4,500 feet, that it froze the antenna. And we're not one of those big stations that has the heaters on the elements, and it took us off the air because as the elements freeze, the VSWR goes up. Transmitter is smart enough to decrease the power, and at some point it just decreases it to 0. It took about 6 to 8 hours for it to melt enough to get our signal back on the air. I did a temperature check. At 4,500 feet, it was 28. At 5,000, that would be around Shaver, just up the hill in Shaver. No, it was Auberry, it was 28. Up at the hill at Meadow Lakes, it was 25. Shaver was at 15 or 12, I think, and then up at Huntington was at 3 degrees. So that's where Korskold can get the 8 inches of snow. All right, well, it's going to be a white Christmas, if it lasts. Thanks for checking in, Mr. Starliner.
Yes, sir. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday night it got down to 20 up here.
Yeah, that's cold for us. The stations listening in across the states, they're saying, yeah, we would love to see 20. We would love to see 20 without the minus sign. That's our nemesis here. That's below 32 is a bad thing. We don't know what to do. I guess that's the bad part about it. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Dennis.
Over to SW, and you're sounding good tonight. All the stations The snow must be acting as a nice little bouncy bounce for the RF to come down the hill. Let's try SWL 226. Any stations wanting to check in who just came in, or maybe I missed you listening for SWL check-ins?
Hey, Dennis, 650 just below 195, waving again and checking in.
Waving a hand and beaconing across the flatlands here. 27085, the old Tube Radio Network. 650, you are sounding good, and stay warm. I think the Radio Shack's a little bit cold, so thanks for braving the elements to say hello.
Yeah, I think it's probably about 40 degrees in my shop. I got a propane heater sitting behind me.
All right, that's good. Little transistors and tubes, and the heater makes good stuff. Thanks for checking in with us tonight. Any other stations?
Dennis, did Kenny check in?
That is a good question. I'm going to say, who was it? 69. Yeah, he did. That's why I can't remember, because he was a little bit weaker than usual, but he was alive and direct tonight.
Good. And Louis checked in too?
93 did not check in yet.
Spot him.
All right, we'll get a proxy check in for Louis, who is sandbagging somewhere, and if he checks in live, we'll put the big X in the square. I wanted to say, Tube Radios are coming right up. I wanted to mention one thing. Anthony, listening in from Trenton, says he's a newbie listening in. And the way your contact, right there, you made the contact. You apparently have Facebook. I think if you've got Facebook, you can jump in on the comments. At any point, if you hear a radio checking in or something that you know about, or you want to ask a question about a radio that's checking in or whatever, I try and keep an eye out on the comment list. We are transmitting 27085, but we're in Central California, but we've got the live stream up and the video going as well. And as the radios check in tonight, we will try our best to display some photos of the items of interest as they check in, get you a little idea of what they may look like if you don't know already. All right, everybody, I will take a moment or two to switch over to the Tube Radio time, and we'll be back with your glow-in-the-dark radios. This is the old Tube Radio Network. Station. Man, we were just talking about you. You must have an alarm.
No. My ears are ringing really loud.
And the fact that we were just talking about you, I clicked in the proxy for SWL 93, which puts your number up on the big board, and it's still there because I haven't done anything yet. So you're still checked in. Over.
All right, there. Thanks a lot. And 603. Thanks much.
All right, back in a moment. Tube Radio's coming right up on the old Tube Radio Network.
You better get on the ball there, Louis.
Hey, man, I got too much going all at once, man.
Well, I'm glad you made it.
Yeah, I'm glad I make it too, man. As long as I make it before 10 o'clock, I'll be fine.
We got you covered, Louis.
What was that?
I said we got you covered.
Oh, I'm glad somebody does. Thanks much. I'm going to let it go. And before I go, I'm going to say good evening to all the SWLs from 93, and I'm clear.
Let's give it a shot here. You are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, for music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
The station for you is
OTR.
The station for you, OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network, thanks to our jingle singers who will now retire back to whatever they do when they're not doing the jingle for us. And we will say hello to all of you, whether you are at Google, YouTube watching live or the repeat of this particular item of interest. Hello to those at 27085 Channel 11 with the receivers and the tube radios getting ready to check in, and hello to all of you at oldtuberadio.net tuning in. We will be asking for your radio check-ins to go on to this format sheet. We'll find out what we got tonight. OTR listening.
45.
And I hear the first one. All right, Paul, let me get set up here. Go ahead and step up into the air chair, SWL 45. I'll make sure I've got, what do they say? Got all my ducks in a row. And we will say, tell us what you're transmitting on. I bet it's a glow-in-the-dark radio, over.
You're right on that. Sure, glow-in-the-dark radio. This is General Radio Telephone, MC6.
From General Radio Telephone. From what I understand, the General Radio Telephone's, of course, popular here on the West Coast because they came out of Burbank, but as the farther you go east, they seem to be fewer and far between. So we're lucky to have the ability, I guess, to check these radios in when we can. Let me go over to you for a transmission on the MC6, and we'll put up a video of what I'm going to say might even be that radio because it looks like it's from your collection, over.
Yeah, one of my radios, one of my restrictors, but it's not this one. This one I just got it working, trying to see how it sounds, getting a few of the bugs out. The receiver's not really all that good on it, so with the static it makes it really rough. But I can get it in. Anyway, they're not a very popular radio, the MC6 was. That's when they stopped taking that tone control in there that the Fires had. It was a great little radio. Matter of fact, the Fires is one of my favorites. I'll check one in next if I get it going. That's a lot of things I guess you turn with the thing. Back to you, Dennis.
Maybe it was like automobiles. It was one of those in-between years. You know, you have the classic, like a Buick Riviera, and it's, the 65 and the 66 and the 67 was great, and they changed this, and then they have 1 year between when they're going to change over to something different, and they had something really cool, and they're just not sure what to do. So they have to do something, and it's always like, that was, what happened there? But I think it's good. It's got the master control look, like you said. It's got the bullhorn. That's the little switch underneath the meter where it used to be the tone generator. What they did do, maybe they did this on purpose because they were afraid people wouldn't buy them. The price went down in 1965 from just under $200 to $159, $160 for crystal-controlled transmit channels with a continuously tunable receiver. And it does have 8, I'm looking at the tube complement, 8 tubes. I'm looking, notes, 1/13/2009, sold on eBay, $102 for a parts radio. So these things are, for parts radios, are up in the $100 range. I don't think yours is a parts radio. It's sounding good. Give us another transmission.
Okay, well, this microphone is not the stock General Radio Telephone microphone. I've got one for it, but this mic here, it seems like it's made for it a little bit better. I hope it sounds good. This is a brand new mic, old stock, Turner 350R carbon microphone I'm using on the thing. And it seems like the radio wants to perform better with it. Whether it sounds that good out in the air, I don't know. That's why I listen to the archives to find out. Back to you, Dennis.
It sounds okay. It does sound like a stock microphone, but sometimes amplified microphones will make your voice sound a little bit different and bring in background noise off the walls. So in our mode of operation, old tube radios, it creates the sound just perfectly. The 8 tubes look like they're all 6-volt tubes, 6 BQ5, and the output modulator, and also the speech amp as well. So it's doing well. I think I'm close enough to the receiver here where I'll take another transmission. We'll find out how the crystals are working, see how close you are on frequency. Over.
Yeah, I believe. I hope that's what it should be. Anyway, that microphone, a lot of times, like you say, the microphones General puts out or anybody puts out, they seem like they work better. I don't care if they don't, I don't know how they do it. It must add something to know about. Because this microphone I got is exactly what they're using, but it doesn't have their name on it. And of course the inside may be different, but it wires the same. So that's about it. I hope you got a good reading there. Back to you.
Got a good reading. It was interesting, and I don't know if the stations that have the spectrum displays noticed what I noticed, unless it's probably operator error on my part. I tuned you in, frequency check was 2784.8 or so, and then I lost it, and it was like it moved up to 85.2 or around there. So it seemed like it warmed up and shifted up on frequency a little bit, which probably isn't all that unusual for a crystal that could be 50 years old. But it sounds good. You are within the 700 limit either way of 27085. Audio is good. It's not super loud, but it's clean. Sounds good. I don't think you will be disappointed when you listen in on the archives to your general radio telephone master control, the MC6. Back to you for transmission, and thanks for bringing it by tonight.
Yeah, thanks for checking it in. First time I've checked this one in, so I'm glad I'm able to make it. I'll be kicking in my 5 next. Thanks again, Dennis.
All right, thanks for checking in from Burbank, California. I think they made radios all the way through about 1972 or 73. I don't think the one prototype we have, the MC100, is a 40 channel. And then they had trouble getting type acceptance on some of their 23 channels radios before they gave it up. Glad that they stuck in as long as they did, because they produce some fine radios, and we have a lot of them here that our operators like to share. The Old Tube Radio Network, looking for radio number 2.
And yes, it did move.
All right, I thought it was me, because I was saying I usually don't have that much trouble finding the station. It's like, wait, it's over here now. The Old Tube Radio Network, looking for radio number 2. Trying to track down my really horrible interference that I have harmonics from 40 meters, 7 megs, and at 20 meters on 14 megs, and even on 28 meters up at 28. And I've been dealing with this for weeks. Just what is that? And I forgot to do the first thing you should do when you ever have interference like that you think might be coming from computers or electrical appliances or whatever. I switched off the antenna. I went to the dummy load, and it didn't change a bit. And then I pulled the antenna, the coax out the back of the radio, and it went down severely, but it was still there. I could put my finger on the SO239. So methinks either there's something getting in through the power supply, or there actually is some RF weirdness being generated from something. I don't think it is internal to the radio, otherwise it probably would have stayed at 10 over S9. But it's just a funky thing. But remember that. Do the simplest things first when you're trying to track down interference. Go to the dummy load. And if it's still there, check something close to the dummy load. The Old Tube Radio Network, we are looking for radio number 2.
45.
And hello, Paul. You might be the only one that has warmed up enough to check in a radio tonight with all the cold weather going on. We've got you for Radio 2 at 8:52 our time. We'll go over to you and find out what you've got on the bench. Over.
Okay, well, this is my 5, my MC5, one of my favorite radios. And I'll tell you about it later.
All right, General Radio Telephone, the MC5. I do have a picture of that. Let's go to that. I think this may be also collection. I do see some flora and fauna in the background. I'm going to position it just a little bit differently, so we'll see a little less radio, but we'll focus on the very cool microphone. It sounds good. I'll see if I can do a comparison to the MC6. Back to you.
Okay, this thing's drifting so bad on the receive that I might lose you, but I'll find you eventually. It takes a while for you to get going. Yeah, it's got a ceramic mic on this one. They had a nice red checkerboard microphone on the radio. That is my radio that I'm talking on right there. Really prefer the radio, and I'll give you the tone control when you're ready for it.
All right, the tone control sounds good. I think this radio is not only louder just in volume, the audio has a little bit more high frequencies to punch through. It also has a little bit more RF out, giving me a higher reading on the S meter, just adjusting the picture there. And if you're looking at the picture on the video, Paul's going to be addressing this switch that in the MC6 that we heard moments ago is called the bullhorn. Rewind a year or two on the MC5, and it's called the tone signal, which Paul will demonstrate, and then we'll talk about the FCC not really liking that tone signal for whatever reason. Okay, Paul, back to you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and see if it works. Seemed like Jerry and I had a play-off on these things, and I think might beat him. I don't know, maybe it's faster or maybe it's noisier. Here it goes.
Yours is loud, and it also does the oscillation in a more typical manner. You could have your oscillation be a little bit quicker between the high and the low frequencies, or very slow. You know who also had one was SWL-17, Eric, and his sounded like Martians getting out of the spaceship, walking through mud. It was just a strange noise. Jerry's SWL-25 sounds, I think, a little bit more normal, and yours is probably the textbook case for the way the tone signal should sound. I can only think that the FCC just thought it wasn't viable to have that because it wasn't, I don't think it was triggering any other device, and maybe they thought, and I used to hear this, I really did, that people would, you can lock the button down somehow and turn the thing on and cause malicious interference. Who would do that? And so maybe the FCC said, well, unless you can put it in some type of a device where it's triggering a squelch on another radio or something, we don't want you to have noisemakers. Quote unquote, yeah. Fast forward 30 years later, we don't want you to have noisemakers on your microphone. The MC5, the most advertised general radio telephone probably. If you look in, you got an old 1962, a late 1962, or any 1963 CB catalog, you will probably find it advertised for $199.95. It will go 6-volt DC, 12-volt DC, and 115-volt AC with proper cables. And included the Electro Voice ceramic microphone, which I believe Paul is using, and it had 7 tubes, also using the 6BQ5. If you'd like the schematic, you can go to oldtuberadio.com in the Tube Radio archives and look for General Radio Telephone MC5. Looks like there's a schematic there. All right, let me stop talking, and we'll go back to you, Paul. We'll do the frequency check, see if this one's a little bit more stable. Over.
Okay. I don't need to say anything. You're getting my frequency going regardless of what I'm saying to you. I forget whether this is low or high, but it seemed like this one was a little... No, this one's pretty close, I believe. Well, you're going to know in just about a minute. How did it come out?
You are correct. It is pretty close. You are probably, let's see, 85.2. I don't know, 10 cycles high. Not bad at all for an old crystal. And it looked like it was hanging in there, not driving down, not changing lanes, as Dennis would say. Huh? It's not changing lanes as it transmits. It's right where it should be. General Radio Telephone, the MC5, their top of the line, I'll call it base radio for 1962, 63. Also at the same time, and I don't know what the companion would be. Would be probably one of the what was it? Vibration VS. One of the VS series radios. There is, you know what? There's an advertisement. Let me pop that up and see if it says anything about what the other radios are. World's most advanced 11-meter two-way radio. Right for the schematic and complete technical manual for free. So they're just touting the General Radio Telephone. Oh, and there's the address. It's from Department TV out there in Burbank, California. Burbank Boulevard in Burbank, California. All right, well, that's the advertisement, and they also have, and you probably, before you go, Paul, do you have, they're showing a test meter. It's called a multi-function bridge. Do you have that accessory?
Come back on that.
All right, let you tune me in. They sold some accessories with the General Radio telephones, with the meter and the switches. It's called the multi-function bridge. Do you have that? Over?
No. Well, I sure wish I did.
Yeah, I've seen them before. I don't know who had one. I've seen one before. They're really nice. They match the front of the radio with the whatever the metallic look and the meter and everything. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Thanks for Radio 2, the General Radio Telephone Master Control number 5, sounding good here on the Tube Radio Network.
Thanks for checking it in.
And at the top of the hour, let's head over to, if they're ready, let's head over to Studio B, and the Jingle Singers will tell us what it is that we do here every Saturday.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you, wherever you are. Your favorite slot on the dial by far is known to you as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
The station for you is
OTR.
And we are looking for Radio 3. And hopefully we were back up on the video stream. I don't see anything on the control panel here that says we are not broadcasting, as they call it. So I see a couple people saying hello. So we're still, hello. We're still doing the video thing, the audio thing as well, and your thing with your radios, OTR. And you can hear the static tonight. I've got the noise blanker on. I've also got the RF gain set. So the S meter reads constantly an S7. That's about where the noise level is. It helps for the SWLs listening in. You don't have to hear too much of the static, but we'll see what's going on. The air is charged tonight. OTR listening, looking for Radio 3. And Butterbean is on his old tube computer tonight. Yeah, check to see if there might be some tubes in that 2013. And speaking of tubes, I just heard something.
.45, if you can hear me.
Oh, yeah, I hear you great. Hello, Paul, over.
Okay, I had to wait for another one to warm up here. This is Liverpool James Radio. It's a Town and Country MC-27.
It does take a little bit longer for the radios to warm up when it's not 70 degrees outside. A Town and Country. What was the, is it, the manufacturer, is it Utica?
That's correct, it's Utica.
And you said it was the MC, speaking of MCs, MC-27?
Yeah, MC-27. This is what they call the custom one.
Ah, and indeed we have a couple of photos, so I will use them all. We'll start, says it's from your collection, so we might get the pleasure of seeing the radio on which you are talking. That's a neat little radio, very simple. I like it when they put the speaker in front, all the knobs, make it more like an old AM broadcast radio. That's an interesting microphone as well. It looks like the Lady Remington shaver. If you can hear me, you are Radio 3 at 9:02. Back to you.
Well, that microphone decided to slow down quite a bit. It was getting weak when I talked before, so I had to upgrade the thing and put on a Turner power mic on the thing. Not that I like the Turner power mic, but they wire use each of these radios. Back to you.
It's a good choice, and you have it set up well on the power microphone. It's just enough. Sometimes with radios that have the older tubes, you can flat top if you don't do it right. So I think you're good. I wouldn't adjust a thing. We've got the ABCD channel selector. Let's see if I've got any info that will tell us more. 1960 to 1966. Well, they made a couple of different Town and Countries. You said yours is possibly a custom. It also does the 6-volt. Typically, you'll find that the radios that were built 1963 or before will and that can go mobile will do the 6-volt. Have a 6-volt connector, because there are a lot of 6-volt car systems still running around back then. 12-volt DC, 115-volt AC, 6 crystal control channels, and hopefully the receiver isn't drifting around too much and you can hear me. Over.
Yeah, no problem. Matter of fact, the receiver's still real good on this thing. For some reason, if the noise level must stop. No, it's basic radio, but it does everything you want it to do. I kind of have a feeling this is the first radio manufacturer, or this particular model was the first one manufactured. Right after that, they came up with quite a bit better one, and then at the end, they come up with a real nice one, which I wish I had. But I don't have it. But this M+2U microphone is very easy to wire, and besides, you can turn them down. I turned it down somewhat, so you said it's just a little full. If you turn it downwards, just like a regular mic, sometimes it gets better. Back to you.
Sounds good. Well, that is a workhorse too, the M+2U. I used one of those for a long time on my Regency Imperial. Probably not microphone for the Imperial, but like I said, they're good. I also use it on my old Realistic Navajo, and that was a screamer. All right, let me pull another This is the Utica Town and Custom MC27 Custom from the collection of Phil. And it actually looks a little bit different. The speaker grill is different. If you're hearing me okay, is your radio, is it a dark color like black and silver over?
Oh, we went through this before. Phil's got a better looking radio than I've got. There's no question about it. This is the most factory radio on this thing. Mine's got kind of yellow colored dials on the thing. His is black. It looks a lot better that way. And then he's got that little emblem up there. I don't know what that is. I don't have that on mine either. So he's outclassed me. I'm sorry about that.
All right. Well, I actually have the picture, so I can answer my own question. It does have. I thought it was a phone jack. It's actually the microphone. It's got like a TR plug for the microphone jack. That's the one you're talking on. Let me rewind here and go to the one that Phil has. In the eye of the beholder, right? It's got the microphonium jack. And his has a little round, I guess there's a pilot light. When you tune the channel in or something, there's a lighted item above the channel selector. On yours, it's a square, probably an insert that goes over the bulb. On this one, either it's missing or it's not there. Audio is good. I looked at the meter, and it's got a lot of forward movement. So the unmodulated carrier might be down, but it's got enough audio to keep it running and sounding good. Over to you.
Yeah, that's the red light on mine too. I don't know what color his is on that thing. But no, I know it's really, I've listened to it before, and it does sound good for a little radio. They had a good idea on everything. They just didn't have enough goodies on them to keep everybody happy, I guess. Anyway, that's about it. I'm about through with radios. Hope somebody else gets theirs warmed up. Talk to you later, Dennis. Thanks.
Not bad for the 1959-60 to get started out. The price, $189.50. The early radios in today's dollars were actually quite expensive for what you got. But, you know, TVs were the same way. Electronics did that. They got better and they got cheaper. But if you saved your pennies, you might have had one of these in your collection, someone watching or listening, or maybe you talked to somebody on one. A lot of times I hear radios check in that I remember, because I didn't have that many radios, but I remember talking to people on that had those radios. So that's also pretty cool and exciting. Thanks, Paul, for Radio 3, and OTR will be listening. And 73 to Butterbean out there where it is getting late. What time is it? 9:10 here on the West Coast. Thanks for tuning in on the Old Tube Radio Network tonight, where we are looking for radio number 4. Before we do that, let's head over to Studio B, where the Jingle Singers, if they are ready, they're giving me the sign they are ready, telling us about that friendly place to be on Saturday evening.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, the friendliest station for you by far is known to all as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
The station for you is
OTR.
We are looking for Radio 4.
Break OTR.
Break OTR. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Dennis. This is SWL 37. We're going to check in our Chris 23 Plus CB transceiver, 23 channel tuber. It goes in the dark, and we're running this here with the original handheld stock microphone. Over.
Have a few radios checking in with the microphone. They're playing well, as is this one, yours, the Chris 23 Plus. You can putting it in the window there for all to see, and we'll go back to you for another transmission where we'll talk a little bit more about Chris on the Chris 23 Plus. Over.
Well, it shows that it's working. I'm looking at all the meters and they're all going that way, so that's the way it's supposed to go.
Is that one? That is one of the Panasonic clones that I believe is like the Robin T123B. I could be wrong. Let's see. Let me see what it talks about. AM plate modulated, 23-channel crystal synthesized, which was pretty much popular for that. It's got the 11 tubes with the 12 AX7 in the audio. And the versions of these radios either had a PACB switch or a range boost. I believe the Chris is showing a PACB. And then some of them had switchable meters where it was SRF automatically, or you had to switch the meter around. So as long as you're looking at the right meter switch, I suppose, you are definitely sounding good.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm looking at the right one. It's showing that it's working when I'm keying up, and it does nothing when I unkey.
Okay, but does nothing. Then you are on the meter switch for RF. So if you flop it the other way, then it will dance around when I'm talking.
Absolutely.
Doing a good job on the Chris, KRIS 23 Plus. It is our radio number 4. I'll log it in at 9:11. And we'll go to for another transmission. We'll put up the Orban loudest meter, see if you can make somewhere in our range tonight -20 to -16. Back to you.
I'm not sure if this one do it, but I may have one a little bit that'll do that, hopefully.
Oh, yeah. It's up there right where it should be. Actually, even a little bit louder. I saw -14 coming in there. So it's good. You got plenty of loudness, sir. Thanks for checking it in, and hope the knee starts feeling better.
It already is. I've been up walking already. So I will be back with another. And break, OTR.
Boy, you tell the truth. You break, OTR. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, Dennis, this time here, I am checking in on my G PowerMate by Gem Marine Products. There's a 23-channel tuber that glows in the dark. This is the pretty blue one. That's right. And we are running this in here with an amplified D104 Lollipop. Over.
Swapping the shot over to the Gem Marine G PowerMate. This is a good segue from the other radio because I believe this is the same. We were talking about radio sharing the same insides, if you will. This should be another one of the Panasonic plate modulated chassis. This one has the PACB. And it also has the SRF meter, so this one shouldn't be that hard to get used to after you unkeyed the Chris 23 Plus.
Yeah, this here, when I key up, it just jumps all over the place. And then when I unkey, it just stays over there.
And the audio is as good as the other one. Now, I noticed the addition, I don't recall the Chris 23 Plus having the two extra, the red and the green transmit receive lights. Over.
Yeah, the Chris 23 only has one. That's the MODS light. But it can also work receive also. If the person's loud enough, it will make that light come on and off like you do periodically.
I would love to know when Panasonic was distributing these, if they gave production rights to certain people, saying, well, if you pay us a little more, we'll let you put in the circuit, we'll include the circuit with the other light. Or, there's a little checkbox saying, yeah, we want that light, and like back in the day, ordering a car, and we want the PACB switch, but we don't want the SRF meter, we want the other thing. So, who knows? Good to have them all around, and we really do appreciate our tube radio operators taking time out of their Saturday evening activities to jump into the Radio Shack and give us like driving your old car to the hamburger stand, getting out and letting us see the fins in chrome and kick the tires, and, well, maybe not kick the tires. You can do that.
Oh, yeah, the hamburger place. You remember Munchies?
I do not remember Munchies. I think the closest one here that actually does have something like that is Chubby's up there at First and Gettysburg, does a car show.
Well, Munchies used to be right there on, I was going to say Fresno Street, but I think it was Spur Street. Spur Street, just to the north of McKinley. They had 10-cent hamburgers. This is back in the 70s. They had 10-cent hamburgers, 10-cent fries, and 10-cent Cokes. You'd go in there for $1, and a whole bunch of people could eat.
In 97, a lot of people could eat with $5. $5 now doesn't even buy lunch anymore, I don't think. But, yeah, a lot of people can eat. That was probably just before my time when I was at the dormitories at Fresno State. The hamburger du jour was Lester Burger on the corner, and they were, I don't know. I thought they were less than stellar, but they were there.
No, we used to go there. Go in there, buy 10 hamburgers before we go to the movies. Go home real quick, doctor them up, put some more mayonnaise on it, lettuce and cheese, and let up, head out to this drive-in, and it worked out fine for us. This, I'm going to be out of here and come back with another.
And you'd head out to the drive-in, and back in the day, maybe you had the Gem Marine Power Mate hooked onto the dashboard, and you had your dozens of hamburgers and a good movie, and talking to your CB friends. This is the Old Tube Radio Network. Here at 27085 is where we are at Channel 11 on the West Coast, Central California. We're beaconing the audio at oldtuberadio.net and the video at Google YouTube. Hello to all of you who are listening in, and we're looking for radio number 6.
And a break OTR.
Well, now this has... I know when you got the Munchies hamburgers, you would say, "Where's the beef?" And I'm not going to say that with this radio, because this one sounds big and beefy. Over.
Oh, this is just a little radio. Anyway, this is my Courier Royale, 23-channel tuber that goes in the dark. This is one with all the blinking lights and all the knobs and even the hidden knobs. And this in here, we're running this here also with a D104 Lollipop.
Sounds good. Nice audio. Maybe we'll do a frequency check on the Courier. This was their top of the line. This might have been their last tube radio also. I'm not sure about that, but I think there were 3 models sort of concurrently that Courier put out at the same time the Royale was hanging about. And this was, according to one of the advertisements I saw, this was the one that was built for the CEO of the company. This was their top dollar, top of the line, throw everything in radio. So you've got it.
He must have wanted a pretty radio.
Well, he got it. If and I've said this before, when people mention their favorite radios or radios they would like to have, you always know the Trams show up and the Brownings show up, and this one surprisingly shows up a lot for people saying the tube radio I would like to have is, and you've got one.
Oh, all right. Well, that's real good to know.
All right, I will. What am I going to do? I'm going to slide over to the receiver here and take a transmission. We'll find out where the frequency is at on this guy.
Transmission first gear. It's all right. Anyway, yes, I think it was Beach Boys. Yeah, it was. But yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're there. Hello, over.
And the guys that have... See, I did it the old-fashioned way. I have to get out of the chair and turn something. Turn a knob and press a button. The guys with the Spectrum Scope radios are just already watching. They're already knowing that radio is about 1,300 cycles high, but sounds good on my wide band receiver. Over.
Those are the narrow bands up there, huh? The wide band they think more, narrow band they think less. Oh, it's got to be right here.
Or the marching band, who knows? 11 tubes also in the Courier Royale. Another way to tell that this was a top-of-the-line radio for the CEO, and included the Collins 6 kilohertz mechanical filter. I was looking for some of those because I do have or will have a radio that requires some. I was just thinking, well, if I wanted to change what I had or buy a different filter width, I would say the current going price on the Collins mechanical filter is anywhere from $120 to $250, depending on how rare it is and what it needs to fit. So that little silver cylindrical thing sticking up there that looks like a tube but isn't glowing, that's a pretty neat part.
An expensive little puppy, too.
Yeah, I don't know how much they were back when they were originally put in there, but they are a marvel of technology from Art Collins and the Gangs, and it's got the 6KC mechanical filter. It helps you, I'm assuming they're using it on the receive side, helps you with the receiver. There's a service manual at oldtuberadio.com for anyone interested, and that will also go mobile if you've got the right cable. More information on Sam's CB14. Thanks for radio number 6. Give us a transmission before you go.
Okay. When I turn this one off, I got to turn one on because they don't have the standby mode. So it's just type, you got to wait till it warms up. You know what I mean? So when I turn this off, I'm going to turn that one off, turn that one on, and wait.
You're going to turn in. Oh, now how did Timothy Leary say it? Tune on, turn in, and drop out. But don't drop out too far because we would like to hear another radio if you've got one. It is 9:24. The Jingle Singer's ready. They are saying they are not ready yet. We are looking for Radio 7. I haven't been looking at the other pages here. You've got some good comments on some of your radio check-ins there, Chris. I know the Sandy, Utah station will always say that a couple of those radios look quite nice. Did I proxy in 85? Oh, that's a good question. Did I need to proxy in 85? I'm looking for 85. I will do that. So 85 is in. Let me refresh that page. I think we're doing okay. So OTR standing by for Radio 7. And who's still hanging out with us on the net stream tonight? New in the house. Hello, North Carolina, Hope Mills, or somewhere close to that. Dayton, Ohio. Sacramento still up in the balcony, along with Sandy, Utah. A couple of Sacramento stations. I need to take a trip up to Sacramento and see if there's a Collins guy that's up in, where's he at, Penryn? So north. They're on, was it Highway 65, I think. Spokane, Washington. Hello to Quebec, Washington, and Monterey. It always shows up as Monterey 19. Glad to have you along tonight, and hopefully we are checking in some of your favorites. Root for the team. Root for your favorite radios to come by tonight. Virginia, Washington, Got some Southern California stations. North Carolina still in with us tonight. Maryland, Georgia, and they say a host of others. OTR listening for Radio 7. Yeah, if John makes it live, Ray, I will, as we say, unproxy the proxy.
AM Classic.
Here's some audio from last week, the AM rally. Let me play a little bit of audio from the stations that were really doing it well out on the East Coast for the last week's AM rally.
Very nice page with a great bunch of people. The amount of knowledge in that group combined is amazing. It's kind of like, you know, AM phone used to be the place to be, the website, right? So, but it's that's changing a little bit, I think, to a certain degree. If you're on Facebook, definitely look it up. Big group, Philip, K-A-4-K-O-E.
Some static crashes there. And I believe that station is on an ICOM 718, so you don't have to have boat anchors to play on the AM side. OTR looking for Radio 7.
37.
Hello, 37. I'm having a coughing fit here, but I'm better now. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Don't cough too much. All right, Dennis. I'm going to check in on my general radio telephone. My Super MC11A 24 channel tube, but it goes in the dark. And listen here, I'm running this here by the original, not amplified mic. It's stock microphone. That's what it is, stock microphone. And I'm sitting here looking at the little old man in the wheelchair with his IV up there, so he's getting all of his spreads.
GRT, and you know there is a model of that doesn't have Mr. GRT. It may be the Super MC11 and not the A. One of them does not have the GRT logo. Another general radio, you know, it's going to be hard for the Brownings or the Trams or anybody else to topple the Generals tonight. Looking good with the General. And that radio is just loud. But it's good loud. Sometimes you can be loud and it's like, oh, it's loud, but I have trouble understanding you. But that's loud and articulate. Give us another transmission on the General Radio Telephone Super MC11A over.
Okay. Well, you know, there's one person, well, actually, there's two people out there could probably tell us which one doesn't have that little logo on their GRT. It'd either be Paul up there on the hill or Harvey down here in the valley.
Absolutely. And putting the Orban watt meter off the scale past the minus 14, but with good quality audio, good quality loudness. 9 tubes We've had, some 11-tube radios tonight, some 7-tube, 8-tube. This is 9 tubes, kind of in between everybody. All right, here's some notes. I like these notes. I think Rob has been on 12/11/2018, a working unit, a working Super MC11A sold on eBay for $282, and I wonder if it even sounded as good as yours.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I haven't been on eBay, so ask Harvey. He would know, or Paul.
You know, things can get a little bit ridiculous on ePay, so you got to be careful. Not like the old days. Although at sometimes, you know, you can still get bargains, and we're really glad that our radio operators that check eBay bring them back alive and key them up here. The nice thing is when it makes a Central Valley collection, the chances of it getting on the air here on Channel 11 on Saturday nights and then being rebroadcast on Old Tube Radio Network so that it can be shared with everybody is pretty cool. So we really appreciate the stations that, you know, take the extra time and pay the extra bucks to get these radios on. And it really is cool, because then if you were one of the unlucky bidders that didn't get it, at least you'd be able to hear it. Then you can kick yourself and say, why didn't I pay that extra $10? ECLL 800 is the modulator output tube, which I think sort of got General Radio Telephone into trouble, but it sure sounds good. Back to you.
Okay, well, Neil, since you're talking about, now, is there any other states out there in the United States or some other country that is doing the same as what we are doing, but maybe not broadcasting it worldwide like we are, but just doing it local in their town or wherever? I just wonder, is there any other ones out there you know of?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I listened into one tonight. JT, SWL 21, does Old Radio Night. In fact, if anybody is interested, the link to that, to his tonight's program, if you scroll down at oldtuberadio.net, there is, I put a link up to that. It may be the wrong link, but he may put another one. But look for Old Radio Night for DD21 JT, and they do that, and he does it cool. He features the radio, which is the way it should be done, rather than having a goofy guy sitting in a chair. And he features the radio on which he's talking in a great camera angle, so you can kind of, the radio is bigger than life. So people are doing similar things. That's what we know about, and I'm sure there's probably a lot of things that aren't being streamed where people get on the air on Wednesdays or whatever. It doesn't have to be vintage radios. It just get on the air. So that's sort of what we'd like to do here.
That's right.
Sounding good with Radio 7, the General Radio Telephone Super MC11A. Thanks for bringing it by.
You betcha, Dennis. Well, that was my last one, so all I can do now is listen.
You will become an SWL, and that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
And hello to Mark up there in Conover. Man, Mark, I don't know if you show up on my list anymore. Usually if it's been a long time, but that doesn't, being on the list doesn't mean anything. As long as you can get out there and wave a hand and give us the latest from North Carolina. Thanks for stopping by the Old Tube Radio Network tonight. Here in Central California, where we have 7 radios so far, looking for radio number 8, and the Jingle Singers. You know what? In honor of Mark waving a hand out there in North Carolina, the Jingle Singers want to tell us about the latest style for all your radios.
You're listening in the latest style at
27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio.
In wonderful
Fresno, California.
The Brakecoach Yard, go ahead, please.
We're a little late here, but it's 131 checking in there.
Hey, not a problem. The tubes are still glowing here at OTR, and I have control of, when I find the right device here, the control of all the items that will properly get you checked in. So let me go to the big SWL board so that the entire world knows that Mr. Root is on frequency, and then say hello and thanks for checking in.
Thanks, Dennis.
SWL 31, Mr. Root. John waving a hand to us. See, you don't need a radio to drop by the Old Tube Radio Network, but if you do, we'd certainly like to hear it. We're looking for radio number 8. Okay, here's something from, I can't remember his call, but it's one of the AM guys, Philip. Let me get the right item here. We're talking about KA4KOE. Philip runs one of the AM vintage boat anchor Facebook sites, talking about who he calls the prime modulator, Reginald Aubrey Fessenden. Anybody that studied radio or radio broadcasting knows about Mr. Fessenden. Reginald Fessenden, born in 1866, made it through the 22nd of July, 1932. Let's see what it says. Fessenden was dogged by lawyers for much of his life. The inventor received a significant settlement in the amount of $500,000, a tremendous sum in those days. Gosh, I guess so. He retired to live on the island of Bermuda, where he subsequently slipped the bonds of this mortal existence. Fessenden was born in Ontario. He invented the concept of amplitude modulation and actually constructed an apparatus to prove his theories. Experimenters at the time were attempting to impress audio on an arc from a spark transmitter, but this proved problematical, I guess, to say the least. Fessenden realized that the successful telephony via RF, not his initials, but by the way, would have to rely on a continuous wave, AM. He understood the concept mathematically, and he came up with this cool little formula. So using trigonometry, he determined that two sidebands, plus and minus, are generated when we modulate a carrier wave with audio. The most famous demonstration of amplitude modulation from Mr. Fessenden took place on Christmas Eve 1906. Instead of the usual sounds of spark telegraphy, shipboard radio operators were shocked to hear seasonal greetings from Reggie and violin music played by the inventor himself. The radio operators had been alerted to listen for something special that night. Fessenden had successfully transmitted his voice earlier in field trials during the process of perfecting his methods a full year before Marconi spanned the Atlantic in 1901. So there you go. The prime modulator. Guy figured out how to do AM, that you need some side bands and you need a continuous wave. And then had some problems with his invention being taken by other people, but as I said, the inventor received a significant settlement in the amount of $500,000 down the line. So good for you, Mr. Fessenden, and thank you. Thank you for your AM modulations, keeping us on the air. We are looking for radio number 8. Kind of a pulsing, a waving noise level. I don't know if that's actually the way it is, or maybe the noise is playing with the downward expander here on the receiver.
Actually, for once, I don't have anything sweeping across the screen.
Yeah, I think it's something local here. I've got all the LED lights off that cause me problems, and it might be just enough of the threshold on the downward expander that it pushes it up and then pulls it down. Also, hello to the Timtron up in the very cold Pacific Northwest. Thanks for tuning into the Old Tube Radio Network tonight. Oh, now my noise is way up. I'm going to have to readjust the RF gain. All right, that should be better, lest we drive the SWLs nuts. Looking for radio number 8. Of course, I turn it down and then it goes away. Oh, I forgot to read the quote. The quote from Reginald Fessenden saying, "Despite all my hard work, I lived most of my life near poverty. I fought years of court battles before seeing even a penny from my greatest inventions. And worst of all, I was ridiculed by journalists, businessmen, and even other scientists for believing that voice could ever be transmitted without using wires. Not only was I wealthy from my patents, all of those people who had laughed at my ideas were twisting the dials on their newly bought radios to hear the latest weather and news." So I guess he got the last laugh. So it just goes to show you, if you think your old tube radio is off frequency and the microphone cord is frayed, key it up, because we won't laugh at you. You will get checked in and you'll have the last laugh. because Mr. Reginald Fessenden, the creator of amplitude modulation, would want it that way.
What are the magic numbers?
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
Are the magic letters?
OTR.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic
Old Tube Radio.
for you.
Looking for radio number 8. Yeah, I hear you, Richard, about the cold weather. I was seeing some Facebook posts from, I guess, the Seattle area showing the snow on the ground. I guess it's been a while. It's been a while since that's happened. Are people in Everett equipped for snow? Is that something that happens often? Here where we're at, it might every 20 years snow a little bit, but nobody has snow plows or snow shovels. Typically, in the foothills they do, but down here at the lower elevation. So if if a foot of snow fell, it would be a big disaster. Also want to check in from the digital SWL mode of operation, X4000. I really do have to get my Echo device fixed so I can check Brentwood incorrectly. But X4000 is checked into the Old Tube Radio Network. And hello to, who's new? Bakersfield. Get those stacked moonrakers. Up I-5, up 99. Maybe we can hear you here on 27085. Welcome to the Old Tube Radio Network. Yeah, I like the alliteration there, Richard. Sand, salt, and swearing. Yeah, just ask me to... you want me to do what? Put on tire chains? Would you believe, let me see if we have one. We actually have a station, and I will pop it up here underneath. Let me get rid of the Orban modulator here. We actually have a station that has and checks in occasionally on the 762K. Let me put it up on the screen. The ICO 76K, which I think the K designated that it was a kit form. Talking to Richard here. He's over on the video side and started with in 1968. So you beat me by a couple of years with the 762K with a 3-channel transmitter. And that funky little microphone, was that the one that you push the talk lever? Kay donates a kit. The cool thing about this, not only did 12-volt DC, 117-volt AC, but the kit was, I think it was well under $100. I'm showing about $70. So considering some of the prices on the radios that we've looked at tonight, that was a good way to start out. I'll switch over. We actually have an advertisement for that, too. Pop up the ad. It's going to be hard to see it. It'll be on the main page, but it'll be hard to see it on the video. There it is. The 760 was 117-volt AC, less bracket. Kit was $59.95, wired for $89.95. The 761 was 117-volt AC and 6-volt DC. 762 is 117-volt AC and 12-volt DC. $70 as a kit. Just under $100 if you wanted it wired. Looks like it has... Oh, that's that microphone. I thought it was an external speaker. It's still that strange-looking microphone. Where are you tonight? Is it Dwayne? I think Dwayne has a 762K. It will check in, so if you listen in on future episodes of the Old Tube Radio Network, you will hear one of those. Probably back in our archives, too, but I couldn't tell you which one. The Old Tube Radio Network getting close here, but we still have room on the radio list for your check-ins. We are looking for radio number 8. So it did lock. That was one of my questions. It locked to talk. The Hallicrafter CB1 had the what did somebody called it the flush to talk. A little lever there. You push it down and there you go. But that one actually is locked. So that could be a dangerous thing too. Somebody comes along and boy, the radio sure is hot. It's been transmitting for the last 6 hours. Hello to our station tuning in Wentzville, Missouri, somewhere near there, the Old Tube Radio Network. Winding down here, last couple of minutes, where we are looking for Radio 8. We'll go down the list of the radios that checked in tonight in just a few moments. The Jingle Singer's ready to rouse the troops to get us another check-in. Where are they? Yeah, let's see. Here we go.
Let's do some spelling.
OTR. 27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio. Old Tube Radio.
And just a reminder that we do archive the audio that we have done tonight 2 ways. In an MP3 format, if you go to oldtuberadio.net, there at the top of the page, it says archive. And you click on that, you have to wait for a few minutes for the OTR magnetophone to load all those little 3-inch reel-to-reel audio tapes. And when it does, it will display the various dates and whether it's an SWL archive or a tube radio check-in archive. And you can click on one of those and use your media player of choice to hear that particular net. Or we have been keeping the videos up for a while, too, over at YouTube. Don't keep them up for a long time, but we do keep them up. So if you would like to give yourself a radio check, if you've checked something in, that's a good way to do it as well. OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network. We are standing by for radio number 8. Warming up, radio number 8.
Number 20. Now I turn the gain down on the mic. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you at 957 over.
What a pain. Anyway, this is 23F9 R2700A. The 23F9 I've had for a while. The receiver is new. It's got kind of a weak either speaker or audio transformer, but the rest of it's working.
It's working quite well. Your signal, I think your just come as you are signal is, not way up there in the plus over S9, but the audio is just excellent, as you will hear if you do the playback. I'm looking to see if I have an R2700A. I thought I did on the. Oh, you know what? They're not in order. That's why I'm having trouble finding it. Yeah, let me see if I've got an R2700A, which I do. So let's pop that up so people can see what it is that you're listening with, and we'll get the transcript here. And you're saying that the receiver is new to you, over?
Yes, the receiver's new. Just got it a couple of days ago. Kind of a good deal. And I think I should crank the mic up a bit, but you say it's loud enough, so I'll leave it. Anyway, yeah, I got it a little while ago, and about a week or so. And it seems to be doing okay. Receives real nice. Noise limiter works really well. The only problem is I think it's either a bad speaker or audio transformer. All the tubes are great. It's got kind of an unusual ping.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's got the big capacitor. You do not want to turn the mic up anymore. I would almost suggest that you would want to turn it down. You are really loud, and what the Brownings do, they just get louder, but you'll get that little, I'll call it the fuzziness around the edge of the audio. It's not, I don't know, I wouldn't call it flat topping. It just has I know what your voice should sound like, and you have enough signal, so do not increase the audio. The radio will handle it, but you definitely don't need it, and you're plenty loud. Looking at the picture, that's a big speaker to not be working very well. It looks like it's like a 6x9 or something, a nice size speaker.
Yes, it is. Yeah, but let me check something here. I'm going to keep it keyed up. I have to change something here. There we go. Yeah, my swing's not the way it should be. I'm going to crank the mic up. I may have to do some retuning on this thing. Hang on here. Oh, yeah. Mic back down, and probably have to do a slight retune on the transmitter, get the swing back up. But you hear me okay, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I just popped up the S meter so everybody can kind of take a look at what's going on. And yeah, it's keys up and it stays there. Doesn't wiggle at all. This isn't the best. A nice analog needle meter would be best for this, but I would agree with you that you could actually probably get by with less audio if you had the resting carrier back down a little bit to get a little bit more forward movement, but you know that. It sounds good. You'll hear it in the archive, so no problem there. If the screwdriver never comes out, you should be okay. But I agree that on a Browning, you should, with that amount of audio that you've got, we should be seeing a little bit of a wiggle meter there.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's a work in progress. The transmitter has been in storage for about 2 years, so I have to make a little. Alrighty, the R2700A 23S9. And I'll turn it back to you.
Looks good, sounds good. I don't even see any movement when it's pinging, and you know you're at 100% modulation at least when that's happening, and it doesn't doesn't push the dot forward there and come back down. So yeah, back that thing. Do your magic. You know what to do. And speaking of the transmitter, I just changed. If anyone's watching the video, that is the 23S9. This is from Paul's collection, who really got us started off well tonight with the general radio telephone. So just to let people know, the SWL45 isn't inundated with generals. He's got a lot of other radios as well, and this is what we're looking at is his Browning 23S9 with the, what do they call it, the chicken head knob on it, elongated. But it's a cool radio. Back, when did these, do I have a deal on 1961, 1962 is what it's showing. So sounding pretty good for all that time.
Roger. Next week I'm going to have an older one out. I think I'm going to go to storage, get it, and set it up over here. So I'll be here next week, or I should be, and then I'll have an older transmitter. Probably my oldest Browning transmitter. I'll have it set up. Okay, back to you, and I'll be listening.
All right, thanks for the check-in. I've been fishing for Radio 8 all night. It looks like I got it, so that should be good. We'll be taking a few moments to count an amount here. Anyone out there with the radio that's warmed up, please bring it by, or an SWL check-in or a comment before we leave the air tonight. Sounding good for Radio 8, the Browning... I wrote Browning Golden Eagle. That is not a Golden Eagle. Browning, not even Eagle. The Browning R2700A receiver paired with the 23S9. OTR listening.
Break OTR.
And the break OTR. Go ahead, sir.
Can I get a late check-in, Dennis? It's been long hours.
Yes, we will not make this any more painful than the day has already been. So we go to, we go to SWL55, I click the mouse, and you are checked in all over the world, and then I take the piece of paper, and you are checked in on our records.
Thank you, Dennis. Have a good night.
All right, and I feel good that I did not, I did not wreck your day. It's getting better, even as we speak. And you get to check in on the Old Tube Radio Network. We are standing by, the jingle singers. Where are those jingle singers? Oops. They're running back to the ribbon microphone. I caught them off guard. And they have their special little song they always do right at the end of the program here. So they're looking through their notes, trying to... Okay, they are ready. This is the Old Tube Radio Network.
You're tuned to
OTR. Channel 11.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us.
Old Tube Radio.
And be modern.
And if there's a Radio 9, we've got room. right, back in the studio we go. We'll go ahead and sign off here at 6:06. That's UTC. Here on the West Coast, 10 o'clock our time. Some of you staying up very late tonight. Good night, Mark, if you're still listening. The Spider-Man. Waving goodbye to everybody. Nice to see you back on the stream. And sounds like things are going better and picking up, and we're glad to hear that. Yeah, the Jingle Singers, there's a story behind the Jingle Singers, Richard, which I won't go into, but they have been pretty much with us for almost our 34 years, and they're kind of the real deal. That sound of I don't know, modern. Sometimes I think there's a bossa nova or a cha-cha going on there, so they're real 60s, and it does promote what we're doing here, trying to get the old tube radios fired up. Looking at the SWL. Oh, and they're supposed to give me a fanfare, so I'm waiting. I don't know what's going on over there tonight. Here we go. I have to have a fanfare before I can give the counting and amounting numbers here.
Ladies and gentlemen, time now for the current OTR totals.
The current and final totals of the Old Tube Radio Network for a 9th of February, 2019. Man, we've been doing this a long time. Thanks to all of you out there that take time out of your Saturday evenings to tune in and give us some radios and talk to us. 10 check-ins on page 1, 13 on page 2, 11 on page 3, and 13 on page 4 on the shortwave listeners tonight for a total of 47. We are on the end of the 8-week roster, and there are, I see a few perfect attendance here, so we will pick our 00 for next week. Thanks to Phil, SWL56, for doing a real good job 8 in a row, so he will be up for re-election. That's actually not, it's not an election. It's just a random drawing with little pieces of paper. But we appreciate the extra effort that our 00s often provide, making sure we get started off. Not that you have to, not that that's a requirement. We don't send you any rules to do that. Radios tonight, we had a total of 8. The most heard manufacturer was hands down the General Radio Telephone Company tonight. Starting off with Paul, who's got a really, really great collection here in California and on the West Coast, and maybe everywhere, I don't know. But if you listen to the archives going way back, you will hear probably almost all of them, from the sideband radios to the business radios to the vibration service radios to the ones he checked in tonight. The MC6, not a real popular one, but they did sell them, and he's got one. That was radio number 1. The MC5, which was their popular radio, probably, as they said, the most advertised, along with, you pick up that 1963 CB catalog, you'll probably see an MC5 advertisement. You will probably see a Hallicrafters CB3A advertisement. And we heard it here tonight. Thanks for Radio 2. The Utica Town and Country MC27, also from Paul, for radio number 3. Chris did good tonight. Good to have Chris back in the air chair and recuperating, even though he's on the bum knee tonight. The Chris 23 Plus was Radio 4. He brought us by the Gem Marine G Power Mate for Radio 5. He brought us by the ever-popular Courier Royale for Radio 6. Radio 7 was the General Radio Telephone Super MC11A. And then, as you just heard moments ago, Harvey at the P&T bench, weak bench with the Browning 23S9 transmitter and the R2700A receiver with plenty of audio. So I did get the S-meter archive, so if he brings it back, we'll see if he's made the adjustment that he wants to make, and I'm sure the audio will sound just as good, if not better. Let's see. We will be back next Saturday at 8 p.m. Pacific time, hopefully. When you see the 6L6 glowing on the left-hand side of your I can't even talk anymore, it's so late. Your Universal Media Net web device. You know that the Old Tube Radio Network is on the air. Let me make sure I answered all the questions as necessary. I think so. Still some stations listening in from California, Maryland. Hello, Quebec, Washington, trying to stay warm tonight. Monterrey, Mexico. Hello, Virginia, staying up really late with us, as well as Maryland, and some others on the old Tube Radio Network. 73, everybody. Thanks to SearchLawrence.com and Frodex for keeping the Nixie tubes running, and thanks to all of you for keeping us running. Real Radio's Glow in the Dark. Get on the air sometime this week, whether it's on a new radio or an old radio. Have some fun, and we'll talk to you next week. The old Tube Radio Network, 73.
Great net. Thank you, Dennis.
And as Mr. Delta X-Ray reminds us, we should all get outside and start chanting, "Come on, sunspots! Come on, sunspots!" Zero just ain't cutting it.
Come on, sunspots. Come on, sunspots. Like he said, zero ain't cutting it.
Good night, everybody. Catch you later on the old Tube Radio Network.